meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town, of New York town.
And we are live, Mets fans. Thank you all so much to everyone just chiming in. Really appreciate you guys. It's been a little bit since we did our last New York Mets talk, as both Richie and I respectively have just been so hectically busy lately with a lot of different things going on in our lives. But we have a new episode today, and no Richie today, but no problem whatsoever, because we have another great Mets fan in here, that being Anthony Rivera, the host of the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, doing really good. So happy you asked me to come on. Excited for this. As soon as you said you wanted me to come on, I was not going to say no whatsoever. So I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. I've been listening to your podcast a lot lately, and I'm like, they just continue to get better. So, guys, if you haven't checked out Anthony and his phenomenal Mets podcast, please make sure you do. His everything you need to know is in the description down below, guys. So, Anthony will be co-hosting with me today, and thank you all so much, everyone, just chiming in. I see Stephen A. What's up, buddy? Mark, Master, Doug, Joy, Ethan, Hema, Jason, Ariel, whether you're watching this live or on playback, thank you so much, guys. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. You're just chiming in. Dominic, a great member on the channel. How are you doing, my friend? I'm just trying to read what you say. I was going through some of my stuff and found the certificate of the authenticity to the Andy Chavez auto pitcher. I will send it out to you next week. Thank you so much. Yeah, Anthony, if you don't know, Dominic, who's a great member on the channel, he sent a lot of awesome Mets-related things my way, including a signed Andy Chavez from the catch on my wall right there. So shout out to Dominic. He's an absolute beauty. I appreciate that. Thank you all so much, guys. I was just chiming in. So, guys, we'll be, of course, recapping the awesome series against the Diamondbacks, how entertaining that was. We'll be giving a deep dive analysis on that in just a couple seconds. And then we will be previewing the series against the Padres starting tonight, and I'll be streaming tonight's game. So a lot of things going on in this West Coast trip. But other than that, is there anything else you'd like to say, Anthony, before we jump right into things?
The West Coast trip is usually my least favorite trip because the games are on so late. So I'm trying to still hang in there, watch them. I know getting up and staying up late for these games is always fun, I guess you would say.
Yeah, it's fun as long as you can stay up. That's always the biggest challenge for us here on the East Coast. So with that being said, though, let's just jump right in, because what a series this was against the Diamondbacks. So the Mets win this series 2-1, as we know. So we're just going to break it down thoroughly, guys. And again, if you're just jamming in, thank you all so much, guys. Smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get 50 likes for the first short-term goal. If you're watching this live or on playback. But in game one, the Mets won that one 6-2 in a pretty impressive fashion. And a lot of things stood out to me, and it starts with Francisco Lindor. Lindor is finally starting to turn the corner here. Had himself 2 hits on the day and went 2 for 5 in that game. Pete Alonso, coming fresh off the IL, had himself a beautiful home run, 4 RBIs, 2-5 when it comes to the hits on the day for him. Dominic Smith is starting to heat up big time as well. Had a monster series, but started off in this game 2 for 4 on the day. Billy McKinney, another small move that Zach Scott made to really help this team with guys being in the lineup now with everyone injured. Billy McKinney comes in and gets himself another home run as a New York Met. Went for 1-for-4 on that game. Jose Peraza, part of the bench mob, 2-for-4 on the day. Mason Williams, who the Mets had just called up, 29-year-old outfielder who's had some good playing time in the MLB throughout his career, just hasn't been an everyday player for the majority of the time, but he went 1-for-3 in his first couple at-bats as a New York Met. And then Jacob Degrom doing what Jacob Degrom does, and that is actually hitting baseballs. He went for 1-for-3 on the day with a single. Surprise. And Kevin Pillar, the machine, the absolute Superman that he is, coming back just 2 weeks or so removed from getting drilled with a heater in the face, breaking his nose everywhere. He comes back and gets himself a pinch hit single. So DeGrom goes 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, no runs. Trevor May, he had a rough series. I'm going to want to talk a bit about him. He gave up 2 runs and 0.2 innings pitched that game. Miguel Castro, my guy, is one of my favorite guys in the bullpen. I don't know about you, Anthony, but he had scoreless 1.1 innings pitch, and then Familia got the save. So the Mets win that one 6-2. They were 4-for-14 with runners in scoring position, and they left 8 on base. So, Anthony, what were your initial thoughts on this opening game of the series against the Diamondbacks?
I mean, you got to start off with Jacob Degrom, right? I mean, The guy pitches and he hits. What else can you ask for from him? Every time he just delivers every game. And I don't know how many games already that he's pitched and given up 1 or less runs. We are getting into, it's now less unbelievable and more of historic Jacob Degrom, what's going on, what we're seeing each and every night out of him. I thought he pitched very well. He only pitched 6 innings, and I was okay with them taking him out of the game. I know that in past I would get upset, frustrated with them bringing him out early, but he just came back. He pitched the 3 innings in the minors, pitched 5 and then 6. I think all bets are off from here on out. I think he might have said during his presser. And as long as he's okay with coming out, I want him as healthy as possible going down. And he basically toyed with that Arizona Diamondbacks lineup. He was untouchable. It wasn't even
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, what stood out to me, I just want to say too, because I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know. Do you play MLB The Show by chance?
I used to. I haven't played in a while.
Okay, well, I'm like on the other end of the spectrum because I'm an Xbox guy. So now that's on Xbox, I'm playing this year. DeGrom is so MLB The Show-esque with 101 heater, right? Beautifully in the top right corner, and then he gets a slider perfectly down and in. It's not even fair what he's doing to these guys. It looks like he did the exact same thing he did to those poor, single A guys just a couple days ago against the Cardinals minor league affiliate. Like, it's simply not fair. This guy, he's a video game at this point, and it's not surprising though. It's surprising when he isn't doing this at that point, and that's an awesome feeling to have, and I'm beyond grateful when I get to see Jake pitch every 5th day.
I don't know if it was Domingo Leyba or who it was, but
I think it was Leyba.
Pitching Ninja posted a tweet of him fouling off his fastball, and for the rest of the at-bat, and I think the rest of all of his at-bats, he just threw him sliders, and the guy took him and tried to swing at him, struck him out. Jake doesn't mess around. His precision, and he just, what he does, his thinking on the mound, I've never seen in my lifetime. And I obviously never got to see Tom Seaver pitch. I've never seen Doc Gooden pitch. I was grown up with the Al Leiters of the world and the Rick Reeds, and you got Tom Glavine, Yohan Santana. The list goes on. I've never seen anyone pitch the way Jacob Degrom pitches, and I make sure that I pay close attention every start to each and every pitch that he does. He's just simply amazing. Is that the best term to use for him?
Yeah, he's amazing, and I think that's fitting for him being a New York Met, obviously. And to kind of just wrap up this game 1 for the Mets. So again, guys, if you're just chiming in, again, thank you all so much, guys. Smash that like and subscribe button if you're enjoying this, and please make sure to check out my good friend Anthony Rivera in the description down below between Twitter and, of course, his podcast of the Subway to Shea Podcast. He's uploading there daily regarding the New York Mets. But what really stood out to me, not just with Degrom and this team, is the fight that they've had. And I think that's something that has been attested to the entire month of May. And I look, Luis Rojas, is he the best manager in the world? No, of course he isn't. But do I think that there's some fair credit that deserves to be going his way with how well this team has performed with everyone basically being hurt? Absolutely. The Mets went 17-9 in the month of May. And then finishing May here, I should say, they just got the job done. And I find that remarkable. I find that what they're doing with absolutely no one in the lineup and guys continuing to get hurt. And we'll talk about that as we get to the third game of this series to recap it against the Diamondbacks. But is there anything that you would like to add about that, Anthony, especially going to this game? I know that we got Pete Alonso back. He made a huge impact right away. But overall, just what the Billy McKinneys, the Mason Williams, it's like next man up mentality. Shout out to Athlete Logos. I'm going to be doing stuff with him real soon, but he came out with a great design on just like next man up type mentality. So what is your stance on that? Because out of all the times I've watched the Mets, as a Mets fan that has only been a diehard, I would truly say for the past 6 years when I really started getting baseball, I've never seen a club like this where they have been so resilient no matter how much adversity has come their way.
Yeah, I would have to say since maybe 2006, and they basically dominated that whole year. But from that time on, they would lose games that they shouldn't lose. There'd be errors, there'd be mistakes. It's different, I feel like, this year. I've never felt this way where, I kind of am, we're 90% confident that the team will come through somehow, whether it's a 1-0 win or like the other day they won 7-6. This team and basically Luis Rojas does need to get credit because I get on him when the time needs, but I have to give him credit. He has somehow kept this team together. And even with all of these bench players, the replacements, the bench mob, whatever you want to call them, have all come through at certain points and very important parts of the game. Pete Alonso coming back is only a positive, only will add on to this offense. And you've seen now since Saturday's game, I think they've scored 6 or more runs since Saturday against the Braves. We weren't seeing that in maybe a month worth of games from this team. They're starting to hit with power, which is great. But these guys like the Perazzas and the McKinneys, even Mason Williams, they have all come through. And I think a big attribute to that also is the play of Kevin Pillar, especially coming back. You
Absolutely.
saw when he got his first at bat back, and they're in the dugout just cheering him on.
They're roaring.
Yeah, he's a very important part of this team moving forward, kind of like how like Todd Frazier was his first time around. There's something about this guy off the bench that really, I guess, lights up this team. And just seeing him come through and come back within, was it the 2 weeks since he's gotten hit in the face, broke his like nasal bones. I've never seen anyone come back the way he did. And that's only going to help them moving forward if he could stay healthy and the rest of the guys could stay healthy. Because, it's like you said, next man up.
Yeah. And I just find that remarkable, and a great reference to the Todd father from Tom's River. I mean, it is funny year after year. I feel like there's always that kind of, at least that one rally guy, but now the Mets are having rally guys that when healthy, these are all guys that would be starters in the MLB still for the most part on at least half the teams in the league, and they're coming off the bench. And I think that's huge, again, to credit Zach Scott and everyone else. So with that being said, I think it's a great segue now to game 2 of the series, because man, oh man, was this a heartbreaker, and we have to talk about it still. I'm still not over it, to be quite honest with you. It was indeed a foul ball, but let's get into it. So the Mets lose game 2 of the series against Diamondbacks, a series that many, including myself, believe, this is a very winnable series, if not a sweep, and they lose 6-5 in extras in 10 innings in dramatic fashion. Let's start off with who has been the more positive guys, and if I didn't mention already, Jonathan Villar had himself a hit in the first game as well, had himself a hit in the second game. Francisco Lindor had a hit again, 1 for 5, but had an RBI, so the only RBI he had of the series, actually, but he continues to get those hits for the Mets when needed. Dom Smith has been tremendous this series, 1 for 2 here, 3 RBIs, his first home run in over 100 at-bats. It's been a while for Dom, his third of the year, I believe, at that point, and he had himself a walk on the day. Pete Alonso in the second game of the series, 1 for 3, no problem. James Mccann had a pinch hit double, I should say, for an RBI. Mccann, I have a lot to talk about him shortly. But then that's really about it with the hitters, because when you get onto the pitching, Marcus Strowman, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it. We're not going to completely deep dive the whole ordeal that happened with Strowman, but just a lot of unfortunate drama happened with him right in the focal point of it all during this game. So he gave up 3 runs in 6 innings with 6 strikeouts. But when you think about the game, you're not really thinking about his performance as much as you are not just the ordeal with the commentator from the Diamondbacks side of things, and also with him and Josh Rojas. Rojas, if you guys remember, towards the end of the game was having some choice words with Strowman. And I believe after the game, Rojas said that he felt that I think had something to do with disrespect type thing, that like he wasn't doing well at the plate, or like wasn't viewing him as a good hitter, something along those lines. And it was just very bizarre overall. I will say that first and foremost. But regardless, Stroh gives up 3 runs and 6, has a serviceable outing, but of course he gave up that bomb to I believe it was Pavin Smith, and that's really what turned the tide on everything. Their rookie first baseman, and then Jeurys Familia had another serviceable outing, back-to-back days, had another scoreless inning pitched. This time in the 7th. Then Aaron Lope had a serviceable inning, 1 inning, no runs given up. And then Edwin Diaz gives up his first blown save of the year, unfortunately, and that continues things in extra. And Trevor May, and this is where controversy can start, not just because of the ultimate walk-off that happened for the Diamondbacks with May only pitching 0.1 innings pitch, but also, could you have put someone else in there instead of Trevor May? I get it that you want to have May in, possibly coming off of a rough night to basically give him a bounce back, but May has also been worked quite a bit lately, in my opinion, and I don't have the numbers in front of me to defend that. I'm just personally telling you, I feel like when May gets a little rattled, which he's been, I'd say the past week and a half, coincidentally enough, when these vlogs are coming out, I don't know what the problem is here, but I do think that May could have probably had that night off, but ultimately he gave up the run, and it was a very controversial call. So what's your stance on the matter? Because it really did seem like a foul ball, and in my point, it kind of felt so textbook of it being a late game, and the umps just want to get out of there to an extent. Going into extras, they want to get the game done as quick as they can. So when there's something that borderline, maybe one way or the other, when you have to overturn it, more often than not, you're probably not going to see it overturn, especially after a celebration. So the Mets go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 4 on base. What's your stance on this game in particular, Anthony?
Well, let's start with the foul ball, right? So what we're seeing on TV, I assume that they're also seeing when they go to the headphones and the headset to make this call. There was no good camera angle for this foul ball whatsoever. And I think that's part of the reason why they did not overturn it. They did not see, I guess to them, they did not see substantial evidence to overturn the play. I thought it was a foul ball. Everyone else thought it was a foul ball, including Trevor May. But, by that point, I think it was just too late. May could not throw any pitches in the strike zone at the time. As soon as he came in, even warming up, I thought to myself, why is he going to come in a day after, he really, really struggled. And also his pitch count was high. And from there, I said, this is just not the move I would do. This is where I question, Luis Rojas to a certain extent, because he had other options. He had Drew Smith warming up in the pen. And you know what? Maybe Drew Smith is not an ideal next in line closer. Maybe it is Trevor May. But you also got to go by the eye test. You also got to go by, who is, I guess, I don't want to say, let's say rested. Who is well rested. Drew Smith was well rested. And when Trevor May comes in, he starts to struggle. Drew Smith is now sitting down. So you can't now warm him back up again and get him ready. So this was all going to fall on Trevor May. This is one of the criticisms I have for Luis Rojas, because I like to see, especially when you're late in games, to have someone at least start tossing in the bullpen. Not every pitcher is going to be able to go 2 innings a night like a Miguel Castro's been able to do. Obviously, Familia is a 1-inning pitcher. When you have these games that you have to do the opener with now and go to the bullpen, the strategy needs to start getting a little bit tighter for Luis Rojas, especially when we get down the stretch in August and September and, hopefully October. I want to see better strategy when it comes to using this bullpen, especially when you have you got Taiwan Walker going innings. You got, Jake's going to give you 6-7 every night. Even Marcus Strowman to a certain extent. The usage of this bullpen, we don't want them to get tired right before the All-Star break. And then it's happening where, the Mets are scoring a lot of runs, but they may lose the game because the bullpen's tired. So that's something that I worry about. Going to Strowman, I don't know if I assume that rattled him a little bit, because the one big mistake was just that pitch to Pavin Smith, who he crushed that ball.
Yeah, and give credit where credit's due. Pavin Smith has been off to a great start of his career this season. So, it wasn't like, oh, you just gave up a home run to a schmuck.
Mm-hmm.
No, you gave up a home run to a guy that's very up and coming. So you can take that as you will.
And the Rojas thing, I assume that he did that to see if he could rattle Strowman. Like you said,
he could have. It's fair. The whole ordeal was just so bizarre in my mind. And then to find out the whole do-rag situation after the fact, it's like, okay, talk about insult to injury. I'm like, this isn't a great look. Let's put it that way. Everything kind of went wrong from the D-backs and the Strowman side of things in a nutshell in that game. It just a lot of unfortunate turn of events, and we can point fingers where we deserve fingers should be pointed at. But it just Stroh did not deserve, in my personal opinion, anything that came his way that time. And then, yeah, that's really kind of my stance on the matter.
Yeah, I don't know if they set out apology. I know I kept tweeting at the Diamondbacks.
They did. Yeah.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. Right before the start of the third game, the final game, yesterday, their commentator, I'm forgetting his name, did come out with a statement basically apologizing that I'll do better and that I should go through some, sensitivity training, which, the guy's 67, 68 years old. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know. He gave a statement. I don't know. I don't think he's going to get fired or anything. I just know he came out with a statement.
I think the comment came from Bob Brenly, who's, he was the manager of the World Series team. He's been with the Arizona organization for a long time, but he's had prior problems with this kind of, comments. So I'll give credit to Luis Rojas. He handled that, perfectly, as any manager you can expect to handle it. So he gets 100% credit for me for that one.
Yeah, he defended his players. I feel like this has nothing, let me make this clear, what I'm about to say has nothing to do with race or anything like that. It just has to do with the old school mind versus a new school mind. Think of Tony La Russa if he was in that situation. I have no clue how he would act, because that guy's so textbook and not being able to defend his players. You know what I mean? So it's nice for the Rojas side of things to actually just know properly what you're supposed to do as a manager. Regardless of the type of situation, you always need to defend your players. There are very slim circumstances where it's justifiable not to. That was 100% justifiable to, in fact, make sure that you defend Strowman there. So I'm very happy that Rojas handled it the way they did. And look, I think that's a credit to Rojas again, too, because think about it. For him to have no problem defending and really standing up, showing it what it is, that comment, in my mind, what I like most about it is just, we kind of have wondered, how has Rojas rallied this team together? Because he's not the most vocal guy that you see in person. At least he's not going to be going and calling out the ump constantly and, kicking dirt on home plate and, throwing his hat down. He's the opposite of that. But he's clearly doing something really well with this clubhouse that did not seem like it was resonating maybe earlier in the season, but I think it was just more so of just having to make certain adjustments and realizing your end goal with all this. And I really have to give credit to Rojas with that, because he's rallying this team around quite a bit consistently. And, we don't see a lot of that. He doesn't show much emotion. So it makes you wonder how his approach is with the team in the clubhouse, the things that we are seeing behind closed doors.
Well, they've always said, even from before he became the manager, that he was always a good clubhouse guy. The entire, team, the players, other coaching staff, they all get along with him very well. I think our biggest worry has always been the in-game decision-making for Rojas. And you can only get on him so much, because look at all the injuries we've dealt with. So I think he has the clubhouse tight-knit together. I don't think I've ever seen the camaraderie that I've seen. Obviously, you see them, when they go traveling like they did to, Tampa, they're all decked out in, Florida gear and getting ready to go to the beach and, just having a good time in these little moments. So I think he has the team right where they need to be at the moment. I like to see some better in-game management, but it's still early. They're in first place, so I can't complain as much.
Yeah, and look, fair criticism. Don't get me wrong. I was first tell you that when the whole May situation happened in that game too, that those are the ones where it's like, Rojas, just when you're making me feel so comfortable, it's like you got to do this. It's those little things, and those little things just tend to add up, especially with being a fan in New York. We know how vocal we are as fans. We're always going to say how it is. But now let's get into what really recapped the series, that being the series victory yesterday, and the game was on YouTube as well, and hopefully I'll be in there next year because I know it's a bunch of content creators that get a chat in that live stream. Make sure to check it out whenever they do that. It's a lot of fun. But for game 3, the Mets won that one 7-6, and I did not expect this game to turn out the way it did, especially when you start off this game. When you put up a 4 spot on Madison Bumgarner, the Madison Bumgarner that still gives me PTSD from the 2016 wildcard game. And for the first time, you do that since, coincidentally enough, the 2016 season back in August, where you actually score 4 runs or more on Madison Bumgarner, and you can't even have it for more than half an inning. So then what happens? The Mets get that 4 spot. As we know, they had the bottom of the first. David Pearson just continues to get shelled against the Diamondbacks and just has been such an up and down pitcher. And I think this is a perfect sign of David Pearson. I think his leash is getting closer to done. The only issue, though, is that you have Carrasco out until probably July, I'd say right now. Hopefully he's at least performing the second half of the year. And then you've got Thor, who knows when he's going to be back. He can't even start throwing again until August, so he might be out the entirety of the season. I'm going to do a video probably tomorrow, within the next couple of days, on some possible trade targets, pitching-wise, because I feel it's needed. Because when you look at this back half of the rotation, you're 4-5, there just isn't enough there consistently. And now when you're facing the Padres 7 in the next 9 games, you need to make sure that you have this pitching night in and night out. And Pearson just did not get it done. He gave out 5 runs in 0.1 innings pitch. It's remarkable. He's completely a Jekyll or Hyde type guy for a Mets team. And I think this also shows the lack of experience he has, because remember, he was thrown into the fire last year, coming all the way from AA, and he surprisingly did well above expectations. But this year, with teams having a playbook on him, and with him really not doing any more adjustments on his game, I think he needs more seasoning in the minors. I really do. I just think he needs more time with less pressure under his belt, because he was really rushed in to this team sooner than expected. And because he excelled in a very small sample size on the short season, where a lot of things were going wrong for a lot of teams in the league, I think it came off a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It didn't come off truthful in my mind for what we were fully getting ready to expect, because I don't think Pearson's a bad pitcher at all. I think he has a lot of potential, but I still think he has a lot of fine tuning he has to do with himself mentally and when it comes to his actual command, because that was erratic, as we know, in this game. So the Mets still won this one 7-6, though, and that is because of guys like Jonathan Villar, and prayers up for Jonathan Villar, because he left this game. He's been basically the Mets' hottest player for the past couple weeks, right? With everyone else hurt. He left this game with a right hamstring tightness, I believe. So pray to God it's only day-to-day hamstrings. We've seen enough of them between McNeil and Conforto already this season. He went for 2 for 4 on the day up until his injury, though, and had himself 2 runs scored. Francisco Lindor had his best game of the series and one of his better games of his entire MLB career as a New York Met. 3 for 5 on the day, no RBIs, but still just looking great, as he now has those, he has his hair all tied up in a really cool design, a braid. It looks cool. But then we get James McCann. Monster game for James McCann. 3 for 5 on the day, 4 RBIs, including a home run. James McCann, he's one of my favorite guys. I'm so happy that he's thriving now. Get Pete Alonso. Alonso is continuing to step up, 2 for 5 on the day, an RBI. Kevin Pillar continuing to step up, his first start coming off of his injury. 2 for 5 now. Awesome. And Dom Bomb, baby, he gets himself 3 for 4 on the day and had himself a walk. So Pearson, again, 5 runs given up. Robert Gsellman, and I'm going to want to know your thoughts on Gsellman, because I'm not sure what your stance is, but Gsellman has been a guy where I really was not hoping that he would make the bullpen going into the season. And what has he done? He has himself a sub-3 ERA in the season, right around a 2.42, if I'm not mistaken, and had himself 3.2 innings pitched scoreless coming in for Pearson, which is remarkable. We need to give credit where credit's due. Gsellman is that perfect guy for the Mets, especially when things are going erratic. This isn't the first time he's done this for Pearson this year, where he got shelled and then you have to give Gsellman 3 innings and hopefully he eats them. He eats them well. He's done really, really well this season, right in the middle of the pack of an actual game. And then Seth Lugo comes in for his first appearance back coming off the IL. He gave up a run in 2 innings, but it wasn't the end all for the Mets in the end, so I'm not even bothered. So happy Lugo is back to Puerto Rican. You love to see it. Miguel Castro, 2 innings pitch, perfectly good. Miguel Castro just continuing to thrive, has around a 2.6 or so ERA on the season. And Edwin Diaz bounces back with a monster save, a convincing save that he's not going to lay his head too much on the blown save he had the night before. And then Mets were 5 for 13 when runners in scoring position and left 8 on base. So, Anthony, what is your stance on this game? Because I just kept looking at my phone. I was on and off watching because I was busy. It was earlier in the day, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I really thought, please just hold the lead, hold the line here after the top of the first, and then they blow it in the bottom of the first. I'm like, okay, it's going to be one of those games. So what's your stance on this game, Anthony, and the overall series?
Well, this goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago on how this team is able to come through adversity. Normally, right? They lost a heartbreaking game the night before. They get a 4-run lead. They blow it. And this is a game where you probably are thinking, this is where we lose this series. And especially going into the Padres series, that's something that you didn't want to happen. But it didn't waver them. This is a different Met team. The bench Mets, the replace Mets, the bench mob, they all came through. Especially the heart of the lineup came through. Mccann with a huge game with that big 3-run home run to start. Alonso with his home run as well. Francisco Lindor is here, folks. He's hitting. I said on Twitter that I really, truly believe that he is going to have a big second half. And I think we're starting to see that here right now. Most importantly for him, he's starting to hit the ball out of the infield. We're starting to get to see him spraying the ball all over the place. We didn't get to see that the first month. Everything was a strikeout, or he would hit it into the, in the infield. He's starting to hit the ball everywhere now, and that's what you want to see from Francisco Lindor. Another great game for him offensively. He's been spot on defense. You mentioned Robert Gsellman, and this is a guy that I didn't even want to make the team out of spring training. I'm
not the only one. I don't think
you're
that
not the only one.
Nearly as uncommon of a belief,
I was so done and fed up with him from 2017 on. I don't know what happened to the 2016 Robert Gsellman.
Injuries, I think.
Yeah, he helped pitch this team along with Seth Lugo into the playoffs. A team that didn't probably, with injuries again, didn't even deserve to make it. And they did because of him and also Lugo. But he pitched one heck of a game today coming out of the pen. I don't know who mentioned it. I can't remember. I know I overheard it. I don't know if it was on radio or it was on a podcast or TV. But these guys now have defined roles coming out of the bullpen. He knows that he's got to come in and pitch multiple innings.
Exactly.
So now knowing that he has that defined role, I think he's starting, to pitch to the potential that we thought he always had. We don't want him not to be on the team because he's an awful pitcher. We expect more from him because we know he had it in him all along. But now we're getting to see that. And, I know a lot of people are going to say the deadened ball is helping, a lot of pitching staff these days. But these guys, they've struggled for a long time. Him, Familia, Castro. These guys we thought were not even accountable or not going to be able to be accounted on during this season. They were question marks. And they've, for now 2.5, April, 2 months full now, they have been lights out. Not just good, lights out. So very excited that they came away with the series win. Much needed because we have a big, big weekend ahead of us. And that's all you can ask for. Win series. And now what? They have, I think, a 4.5 game lead now in the NL East with a bunch of bench players. I could not expect or have wanted anything better than what we've just done this last 2 months.
Has it kicked in for you like it has for me? How I'm almost getting teary-eyed right now just because listen to this. This is like the first time the Mets have had this much of a lead in a division since 2015. Like, that's a big deal. 2015 still feels like yesterday to me, but reality is it's 6 damn years ago. Like, that's crazy. So to see the Mets doing this right now, they're taking, one of my biggest worries with their lack of success early this season was not taking advantage of the opportunities given them. Because when they were in the first couple of weeks of the year, they didn't face one goddamn pitcher where I was really intimidated by. Yes, you could say Aaron Nola, but there was nothing else outside of that whatsoever, and they were just not hitting a lick. And the pitching, while it was solid, it was not getting them the wins nearly enough at that point in the season. So now, to see this team taking advantage of an NL East that is depleted, for a division that I think we all expected, any baseball fan will tell you, would be the hardest division in baseball. We're now just about 50-plus games into the season, and it's arguably one of the weakest, if not the weakest. It's crazy how much has changed because of injuries and just lack of consistencies with the Mets' respective rivals, but they're doing their best job at taking advantage of the situation right now. And for a team that doesn't have anyone healthy still, that's still ways away from a J.D. Davis, a Brendan Nimmo, and I'm going to talk about that as we get into probably after the series preview against the Padres. It's truly remarkable to me that they're able to do what they're doing right now on a consistent basis where they're actually backing up pitching. Jacob Degrom, you get runs for him. I expected this. I truly did, but a lot of Mets fans, a lot of pessimists out there didn't. So I'm happy that we can all kind of start to put a smile on our face and know that, yeah, you're really searching to be upset about what the Mets are doing right now because there aren't doing many bad things. Even if the Mets, say for whatever reason, got swept, right, this upcoming 4-game Padres series, I wouldn't give a damn because still, they're still lacking injuries. Yes, you have more stars in there, but, it's one of those things where you're still going to more than likely have the division lead in that situation. Is there anything you'd like to expand on that? I find that truly baffling that we are at the current state of the season and the Mets are 4.5 games up.
Well, right. The NL East, which was supposed to be a juggernaut at the beginning of the season, has now gone to the NL Least, where, every team under 500. The Phillies have their own issues. I feel like Joe Girardi might not be the right manager for those guys. I don't know. They don't seem right.
It seems like they could almost use a guy by the name of Gabe Kapler who's really thriving with the Giants right now. Isn't it funny? How things have kind of changed on his part.
We know what the Marlins are. We know what Washington is. The Braves is where, that's the team that, I still think can turn it around. But Absolutely. They took a big hit this week, losing Ozuna, not only to injury, but to what happened, which now he might be done,
Yeah, he's probably done the entirety of the season. There's no doubt. His career is borderline at stake right now. It's legit.
And so many injuries that the Braves have taken on. The one thing that the Mets were able to do that these other teams didn't do was that they added depth at many levels, from bench to the minor leagues, and they have been able, to make something out of nothing. That's, a lot of people said, why did they sign Almora Jr.? Why did they sign Pilar? They're both the same kind of player. Depth. We needed it. We never had this before. When was the last time that we had so much depth? We're getting, minor league prospects coming up that, had a future, but since they were thrown right into it, they never succeeded. Guys were coming up way too early in 2017, 18, 19, even before that in the early 2010s. These guys were coming up way too early and weren't prepared because we didn't have the bench that we have now. Before we added, Mason Williams and, Cameron Maiden to a certain extent and the McKinneys, we had to throw up Khalil Lee, and he's a prime example. He's not ready yet. He's not ready, and he shouldn't be up here because we should have people. But the outfield depth in the minor leagues, we know going into the season that it wasn't ready yet. And that's why they added Almora Jr. and Pilar. And, a freak accident, 2 of them, costed us both of those guys. And we had to go to Khalil Lee. So, and that's where you see where all this depth that you need coming into play. VR, Peraza, Drury. They had Hager for whatever time that they had him on there. They needed that depth when, they lost Guillorme and they lose J.D. Davis, and all these guys have been coming through, and I could not have asked for any other better season. I know that for me personally, this team has turned me from, being more on the pessimistic side of things to when we lose a game, let's forget about it. We're moving on to the next game. Like we lost the May thing. It was good for me, all of us to, I guess, get it out of our system, our frustrations, our complaints, get it out. Let's move on to the next game. Mets did it. They won. And that's why we're here where we are right now.
And that is why I'm such a big baseball fan. You're not allowed to carry something unless you're truly down in the dumps, where you probably have some more personal things going on, where you're still holding that loss from last week when they went on a 5-game winning streak. Like, that's why I love baseball so much. There's nothing else like it. You literally have a heartbreaking 10th inning loss in the West Coast trip. You stay up for that game because, of course, you're a diehard fan and you do it. You come back the next day and you get the win, and you don't give a damn about not sweeping that series for the most part. That's what I love about it. That's what baseball's about. But, guys, before we now get on to our 3 stars of the series, I'd just like to, again, shout out everyone in the chat. I see all you guys. Thank you all so much. Again, no problem, Steven. Again, I see Dean. I see Blacklist Outdoors. I see Marco. If I missed your name, I apologize, guys. Just thank you all so much for being here. My awesome members that are in the chat right now. Nolan, what's up, buddy? Again, Ryan, thank you all so much. William, appreciate you guys tremendously for chiming in, guys. We'll be taking comments, questions towards the end of the stream. We will be taking live callers. We'll probably be taking upwards of 5. So, guys, stay tuned. We'll be doing callers after we are done previewing the Padres series. This will be a little bit of a longer stream today, so just stay tuned for that. Again, I appreciate all you guys. Smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get 100 likes by the end of the stream. Help us get 7K subs, guys. We're only around 200 or so away. We're trying to get there by June 7th. We're just a couple of weeks away. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't done it, please make sure you do. Make sure to check out my man, Anthony Rivera, at the Subway to Shea podcast. Links are in the description down below, as always. So now, Anthony, I'll start with you. Who are going to be your 3 stars of this Diamondback series, and why? Let me hear it.
I had to think about it for a little bit, and I was trying to find a way not to put him in here because I feel like every time he pitches, he's always in here. But he does it on both sides of the field. He pitches, he hits. Jacob Degrom, come on, he's got to be the number 1 star. Toyed, like I said before, toyed with the Diamondbacks lineup. And I think he even threw his first curveball of the season in this series. Like, just
he didn't even need it. He didn't even need it. He's like, why not? Let's get crazy. We're on a West Coast trip.
RBI. I mean, he's got to be number 1 for me. Pete Alonso would be my number 2. I mean, coming back from the injury, the hand injury, you need your hands to hit. He hits a couple home runs, big ones too, on top of that. So he would be my number 2. Number 3 is so tough. It's really so tough because James Mccann is finally hitting. I think his batting average now is up to 233, respectable from where he was.
Yeah, he was living right around 200 the majority of the season.
So it could be him. It could be Lindor. You know what? Let me give the 3rd star to Robert Gsellman. We'll go Robert Gsellman because this was a very important game that we needed. And he came out, shut the Diamondbacks out for 3, I think he said 3 2/3 innings.
Yep.
And it was something that we needed because, especially with Peterson, who some games he can, some games he can't get through 5 or 6 innings. We're going to have a bullpen game this weekend. And Gsellman came in, shut the Diamondbacks down, and kept the Mets in it when we probably could have lost that game. So it goes to him.
I love that your 3 picks are completely different than my 3 picks. And I think that's what's awesome about the series, though, because when things are going right for the Mets, you can basically pick anyone. So my 3 are more stereotypical, but I feel it's needed. You got to go with James Mccann, of course. He went for 4 for 11 statistically in the actual series. Probably, if not his best series of the season, definitely up there. I think it was, though. 4 for 11, 5 RBIs with a home run. I'm giving Francisco Lindor, and I've mentioned Lindor as a 3rd star a couple times, but again, this is the best I've seen Francisco Lindor play all season. And I think that's noted. I think what we have seen him do the past week is impressive enough and warranted enough to give him a star. He went 6 for 15 and had himself an RBI. And then my 3rd star, I love you, Dom Smith, so much. You had 6 hits in the series, but I got to go with the guy that rallied this team around so much, and that is Kevin Pillar. Pillar being back from injury, to do what he did and to do it effortlessly, to hear this guy in his presser say that, we're we're just hard-nosed, no pun intended, in my family. It's like my mom, she's talking to her the night before. She was literally thrown up, all sick, goes to work the next day, no problem. Like, that is the mentality my family and I have, and I love that. I commend that. That's something that is kind of inspiring to my mind. I've been such a big Kevin Pillar fan for a couple of years now, so to see him with the Mets and to see him thriving, especially off of the big slump, everyone wanted this guy DFA'd the first 2 weeks of the season. I'm like, guys, he's a bench guy that's usually a starter. You need to give him time to adjust. He's never had this in his career where he's not viewed as an everyday player anymore because of how deep this damn team is. Injuries, if there's any positive take out of this, it is the fact that you give playing time to guys that are used to playing time. Jonathan VR, Kevin Pillar, the LRs. They will get the job done for you. So Kevin Pillar, 3 for 5 in the series. Sign me up. He's my third star. So that is now, I think, a great segue going into the series preview against the Padres. And man, talking about a good time. And look, I'm not even going to jinx anything. I'm knocking on wood right now. But the Mets, as injured as they are, the Padres are dealing with their fair share of injuries right now too. And the Mets are going to probably luck out in tonight's game more than anything else when it comes to the lack of players that will be seen, because let's just talk about the injuries before we get into, the pitching previews and all that good stuff. So what I'm concerned about, what I'm not concerned about actually is Fernando Tatis Jr. The Mets are probably not going to see him tonight, which is lucky. He's dealing with, I believe, right oblique tightness. So he's day-to-day currently. He'll be back in the series, I'd assume, but it looks like he'll probably be out at least tonight's game. We'll see what happens. Then you have other guys like, I'm not sure if you saw, but a very kind of scary collision happened yesterday against the Cubs between Ha-Seong Kim, who they acquired from pardon me, I'm trying to think. I think he was from the Korean League because I know the Mets are interested. Shortstop and Tommy Pham, the outfielder, they collided with each other, and Tommy Pham had to get stitched up yesterday in the Cubs game. They ended up getting swept by the Cubs, but both of those players are out basically day-to-day. Ha-Seong Kim is out day-to-day right now, and Pham is going to be back either Friday or Saturday at the time we're recording this right now. And Trent Grisham, who's been their stud center fielder, so underrated for the Padres, he'll be back Friday or later dealing with some injuries as well. So now getting into the Padres, when we went to the season, it was like, all right, what's your predictions for playoffs? What's your predictions for the year, right? Who's going to win the division? Who's going to be in the wild card game? More often than not, it was Mets versus Padres wild card game, and if you look at the Padres right now, they might avoid the wild card game. They're the second best team in all the MLB right now when it comes to actual wins. They have 34 wins, 23 losses. They just got swept by a Chicago Cubs team that's defying the odds, and I'll talk about them when the time comes because that's a completely different animal. But Padres, they've been doing phenomenal this year on all sides of the coin, not just pitching. As the Padres, last time I checked the Mets stats, they were second in the MLB in overall team ERA. The Padres were first. I'm not sure if that still holds true, but a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that was the case. But let's get into game one, which is tonight. I'll be streaming during that game. It's going to be a late night stream, guys. Same thing on Saturday when Jake is on the mound. So make sure to check out for tonight's stream, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun for all my night owls out there, fans on the West Coast. But Taijuan Walker's on the bump tonight, which is part of the reason why I want to stream it. Big game for him. Really his biggest opponent he's ever going to face as a New York Met until he faces other teams like the Dodgers, etc. So 4-1 on the season, a 1.84 ERA, facing off against the Cy Young Award candidate in the 2020 shortened season, outweighed Jacob Degrom in voting, that being in veteran starting pitcher and Yu Darvish, who they acquired in the offseason from the Chicago Cubs. Darvish, the 30-plus-year-old, is 5-1 on the season, 2.16 ERA. He is off to a phenomenal start. Yu's so much fun to watch, too. I've been a fan of his for multiple years now, too. But this is going to be a big matchup tonight, so I'm going to want to know your thoughts on the matter here and for these other games. But now let's get on to some others here. And oh, my goodness, I have to address something here in the chat real quick because I'm at a lost word. Steven, thank you so much. Stephen A. donated $100. Thank you so much, my man. That is too kind. I really appreciate that. You're too kind, my friend. And I know you've done it in the past too, Steven, so trust me when I say I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being so kind and everything in the chat and just listening. It means a lot. You're a legend. No, you're a legend, Steven. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure I'll be seeing you when we actually get on a caller. So, guys, shout out to Stephen A. for the massive $100 donation. It means the world to me, my friend. Thank you kindly for that, buddy. It means a lot. So, guys, now getting into game, and I'm blown away by that, my dad. That means a lot, especially for a smaller content creator like myself. I'll take anything that can come my way. Seriously, thank you, Stephen. But getting on to game two now, it's still to be determined from the Mets side of things, but you'd have to think that Joey Fuego is going to come in. He's got to pitch at least a couple innings. If there's any revenge tour game that I want to see, it's honestly Joey Fuego. He's pitched really good his past 2 games for the Mets for the most part. Let's bring him in, give him a couple innings, see if he could take advantage of a Padres team. It's either going to go really good or really bad. homecoming. They know exactly it's either that 90 here or it's that 70 plus, church. There's nothing else. That's the issue with Joey Fuego. He doesn't have a third pitch. He lacks consistency, but I do think we're going to probably see him pitch. So I'm assuming that he'll be either the starter or they'll have a spot starter for maybe a Drew Smith. I don't know. But then Blake Snell is going to be could be the fellow southpaw starting in game 2 on Friday. He's 1-2 on the season, a 5.55 ERA in the year for Blake, which is a little alarming for Blake Snell, the former Cy Young Award winner. He's off to a slow start this year for the Padres, around a really good team pitching wise still. But then you get into game 3. I'll be streaming that game as well. I'm excited, man. Jacob Degrom versus Joe Musgrove, 2 of the best pitchers in baseball right now. And yes, Joe Musgrove is one of the better pitchers in baseball this year since he was traded from the Pirates to the Padres, and the Mets were part of that 3-team deal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think that who they acquired in that 3-team deal. Oh, wait, it was actually Joey Fuego. There you go. See, I forgot for a second. So part of that 3-team deal with the Pirates sending him to the Padres, Joey Fuego went back to the Mets, but Musgrove is 4-4 on the season, has a no-hitter. I believe he has the first no-hitter of the season, too, might I add, in the MLB this year out of the plethora that we've seen. A 2.08 ERA on the year. Jacob Degrom, 4-2, a 0.71 ERA. This is going to be Jacob Degrom's biggest start of the season thus far, and you're damn right I'm streaming it. We're going to watch that. We're going to hope that's a big one. I'm so excited for that. Then game 4, we have Marcus Strowman on the bump again, 4-4 on the season with a 2.66 ERA, trying to get a little bit, I'd say a little bit more of a serviceable outing than what he had against the D-backs. Again, it wasn't bad, not great though, just I'd say all right. But then it's still to be determined for the starting pitcher from the Padres. So before we get into anything further and before I expand on the hitters, what is your initial stance on this series and the pitching matchups that we know about right now? What are you liking? What are you not liking? Let me hear it.
Well, this is a possible, playoff series that we could see somewhere down the line. If the Mets get in, if the Padres get in, I think that we have the 3 best pitchers possible going in there, right? Taijuan Walker is going to set the pace. You got Degrom, and we all know what he does. And Strowman, who, although 4-4, that's a very deceptive 4-4 because I think he's pitched way better than what his record.
Oh yeah, he's lost a couple games because of leaving, and then whoever the reliever is coughs up a run. It's been something along those lines. Yeah, his numbers should be better than what they currently are. I agree with you.
I haven't been paying too close attention to the stats for when it comes to Padres, but you did say that they have the best pitching. They're number one.
They have for the majority of the season. They've been number 1 with overall between starting and bullpen. And
that's with Blake Snell having a over 5 ERA.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've seen the best. Well, we definitely have not seen the best of Snell. But if we could somehow capitalize on his struggles, that's only a positive for us. Obviously, you want to win the series, sweep, win 3 games. I'm going to go on a limb and say, give me 2 right now. Give me 2 games. Give me the Degrom game because, he's going to do what he does. And give me one of the other games, whether it's the Strowman game or the Walker game tonight. I'll take 2 out of the 4. I would love to get 3 or even sweep, but I'm worried because the Padres are already coming off of a sweep. So are they still struggling or are they pissed off? So I don't know what we're getting, but hopefully if we could get 2 out of the 4 games, that would be great. Just one mention here on my end.
Sure.
I would like them to please rest Jonathan VR for this series.
Okay.
I don't want to have the same thing happening to Jeff McNeil. I'd rather him sit out this series and be okay going forward than lose him for a month or 2. So hamstring injuries are not, the best to deal with. If he is hurt, I don't want him coming in to pinch hit. I don't want to come in for defense. Let him rest his series. If it's Drury, you got to put out there for now, or they just picked up someone as well. I can't say his last name.
He had a pinch hit at bat. Didn't get a hit yesterday, but just another body. Let's put it that way. Let's see if he's another next man up though.
Yeah, that's my big worry is VR because he's been this table setter. We can't lose him right now because he's a huge table setter. He brings the energy. He's got the clubhouse, rocking and rolling with him and Pilar. Let him get the rest that he needs because we can't afford to lose him for an extended amount of time.
Yeah. And, as much as I want VR in the series because he's just been such a great place setter, this guy can steal a base at any given day. I agree with you. I think if we have to focus more long term here, and we'll see what happens. Look, if VR is fully ready to go and they feel that they need him in the series, then okay, I'm fine with it either way. But I think that if it is in fact an option to rest him for at least half the series to a full series, do it. I think that's important. Keep these guys healthy. The Jeff McNeil situation was a wash as it is. Conforto is my favorite New York Met. If you don't know, he always has, always will be. Seeing him out for this long, just off of it after that pulled hamstring, basically going down first, it crushes me to this day. When that happened, it feels like almost a month ago now. But now I want to expand a little bit further on just what should we be looking out for besides the starting pitching. Let's talk about the hitters because the Padres are no slouch. And yes, they're dealing with injuries, but when this man is back, Fernando Tatis could very well be an NL MVP award winner this year. I picked him to win the MVP as a kind of bold pick going into the season with my prediction video. And Tatis, while he struggled with the errors this year, it's mainly been throwing errors. When he puts it all together, this guy is electrifying, and I think there's a fair argument to say that he could be the best player in baseball within the next couple of years when Mike Trout starts to see somewhat of a decline because of just how well he's doing. Tatis, 16 home runs, one of the best already in the league, while dealing with a plethora of injuries already this season, might I add. He's dealt with some time out. He already has 16 bombs, batting just under 300 on the year. 37 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, and a 1.069 nice OPS. Like, that's nuts what he has been doing. When he's in the lineup, the Padres have a chance to win every given day, knowing what you get with that bat. And normally with his glove is really strong. Just this year, it's been errors galore. So he just needs to fine-tune some things, but I'm not worried about him. Jay Cronenworth is another guy that stands out to me. The entire offense does, but I'm focusing on like three guys in particular right now. Jay Cronenworth is one of the more underrated second basemen in baseball. He's batting .282 on the season, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, a 768 OPS. And Manny Machado, he's been dealing with some injuries on and off, but Machado, even though he's a big swing miss guy, trust me, when he makes contact, I think it might be going yard. Has 6 home runs on the year, 31 RBIs, a 239 average, 6 stolen bases, a 732 OPS, and one of the better gloves you'll see in baseball there on third base. So when the Padres are healthy, damn, are they good. Really good. And I think that even when they're not healthy, they're still going to be really good. And I will not be surprised if they at least take half this series from the Mets. Just a matter of the Mets and how determined they are. How much advantage will they get from having these guys out for just a couple of days? If the Tatises, if the Ha-Seong Kims, the Tommy Phams, and Trent Grishams, if they are all out for at least one game in the series, by all means, take advantage of that one game. You got to take advantage because those things are not going to come all that often, especially when you're not seeing the Padres all that often this year. It's like we have this 7-game stretch, and then that's it for a while, I think. So if at all, I honestly don't know how many games they play against them this season. This might be it for all I know. But what is your stance on kind of the hitters and the overall matchups against the Mets? Because, again, when this team is healthy, when they're thriving, they have some of the best hitters in baseball. They can work the Dodgers without a problem. They can even work the Giants. So is there anything more that you'd like to expand on this series on kind of what you're looking out for from both sides, respectively?
I know that we got a whole bunch of righties coming up, and one guy that I'm worried about is the guy that haunts Mets dreams, Eric Hosmer. If you remember Eric
I'm
Hosmer.
so glad you brought him up because he's
goodness.
having a bounce-back season.
281 right now, 5 home runs, 30 RBIs. He's no slouch.
Yep.
He's a good player. And going against a whole bunch of righties in the rotation, that can only be a positive sign for him. We don't know where, like you said, how many games we're not going to see Fernando Tatis Jr., but like you mentioned, we got to take advantage of the games he's not playing. So how long as he's out, we need to win those games. So it's very important to stifle the rest of this lineup. Machado, who is not even hitting what we would think he should be hitting, he struggled this season. And you mentioned Cronenworth too, who's great. Looking up and down this lineup, you got guys batting 300, 248. 282, 281.
Will Myers is another guy that's been a revelation. Had bounced back a lot last year and is continuing into this season.
This is batting averages that we'd like to see on our end from some of our batters right now. But I think this is going to be probably the toughest lineup we faced all year. And what I'd like to see, I think what's most important for the Mets is length out of this pitching rotation this weekend. Nice long outing from Walker. If he could go 6 or 7, we already know Degrom, he can do that already. And Strowman has already proven that he could do that as well, because we are going to get the opener bullpen game. That's definitely probably going to happen on Friday. It says to be determined right now. So we have to go into it knowing that, our bullpen's going to get taxed that game, and we need length out of this rotation.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. If the Mets can get 6 to 7 serviceable innings from all the starters this series outside the bullpen game, you absolutely need to do it. Luckily, they could be in a situation where they aren't taxing the bullpen nearly as much as you think, because I know that they have around 10 relievers right now. So if like a guy like David Pearson getting shelled yesterday, yes, you did work a lot of guys, but Robert Zellman was a saving grace. It's guys like that are so huge to this team and getting far this year with having contributions little and big, and coming out of the pen, doing what Gesellman did and gaining those serviceable innings. That's huge, because that very well can directly impact this series against the Padres. I wholeheartedly agree with you. So with that being said, I think we kind of wrapped up everything, unless there's anything else you'd like to share regarding not just the series recap against the Diamondbacks and now the series preview against the Padres, as we're about to take some callers, if that's fine with you. We'll probably take upwards of 5 Mets fans that would like to chime in, share a question or two, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I like to think that maybe Peterson can come out of the bullpen this series, maybe on Friday. He didn't. He pitched maybe 30, 40 pitches. If he could get an inning or two out of him, out of the pen at some point, I'd all hands on deck. Next man up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against Pearson coming out of the pen. I have my concerns with how prepared he would be for it, because this is a guy that isn't even settled as an MLB starter, and with very little time under his belt, kind of thrown into the fishes, if you will. So my only concern with him coming to the pen is not just a snap of the fingers from you to adjust from a starter to a reliever, even if it's for a short time. So not everyone can be a Seth Lugo, if you will, and handle that flawlessly. So that is my bigger concern on the matter. So I don't know. I'm not against it. I want to know that Pearson's on board, and you have to make sure that doesn't mess with him mentally, because when you're coming off of a really rough outing again, and then he gets sent to the pen, a lot of times it's kind of a recipe for disaster. So that those are things that we need to make sure, because there's a huge mental aspect to all this. And I feel like as fans, people really forget about that. When guys are down, let's take Francisco Lindor just as an example. We all have our personal opinions on things. I never agreed with the notion of booing him and things of that nature. He said it himself that, it kind of basically makes him feel like shit, but quite frank, it's not a good feeling. It doesn't matter how much he's getting paid. This guy's still a human being. You trust me when I say Francisco Lindor is not thinking about his contract when he's at the plate. He's thinking about him just being a ball player. So we need to separate those things and realize that these guys are human. And when it comes to him possibly going to the pen, I'm not against it as long as he is able to do it. That is the thing that I honestly don't know what the answer is to.
Yeah, for me, it's more of not a permanent solution. It's just more to get him innings that he lost against the Diamondbacks. I would have him, back on the rotation unless they're going to make a significant change at some point for the starter. I think personally they basically need an innings eater. That's what worked so well in 2015, because Bartolo Colon 8 innings no matter what, allowing these young kids to grow. So I just hope that he's able to come through this and get back on track, because he's giving off right now a little bit of the Steven Matz vibes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And the circumstance is completely different, though. So let's just remember, this isn't a Steven Matz 2.0 situation, guys. He for the most part, he probably shouldn't be with the team right now. He still needs to get his seasoning. Remember that. And before we go any further, I'd just like to give a massive shout out to my good friend Matt here for donating $10. Thank you so much, my friend. It means a lot. Good vibes sent from the Till Mets Do Us Part podcast. Awesome. We got some more Mets podcasts in here. Thank you so much for the $10 donation, my friend. I really appreciate that. I'll definitely make sure to check out your podcast if I haven't already. And same to you, Anthony. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, my friend. It means a lot. Always appreciate having other Mets fans and podcasters and content creators in here. And Dave, who's an absolute beauty, a great supporter here on the channel, sending a $5 donation. Thank you so much, Dave. Love you, buddy. Love you all so much, guys, for chiming in. So to kind of wrap up the matter on David Pearson and everything, let's see. Maybe, look, like I said, I'm going to do a video on possible trade targets for the Mets. I think people are going to enjoy that because again, the 4th and 5th spots are very iffy in my opinion. They've been all year. Let's put it that way. We didn't expect it to be iffy going now into June because we expected some type of reinforcements that unfortunately haven't happened now. But will the Mets consider a possible spot starter for a guy like David Peterson, who has been getting shelled in the first multiple times? Normally when he can't get out, have a good game, it's because he can't get out of the first. Like Steven Matz-esque, as we've seen in previous years. So will a spot starter for upwards of 2 innings benefit a guy like him? Possibly. You could go that route just like you did with Joey Fuego and see how it does for you. I think that you're going to probably see fairly similar success to Lucchesi, where you're going to have some games where it actually works. Maybe you get 4 innings out of Pearson. Money. Same thing with Lucchesi, and then you're gonna have others where it doesn't work. It's always gonna kind of be a coin flip there, or it's gonna be either pretty good or pretty bad. But again, that's just another suggestion I personally have. Should you not do any immediate moves within the next couple weeks, throw an idea of a spot starter. We got guys that can handle the spot starts. Many guys, including Drew Smith, who did it perfectly fine against the Rays. Sean Reed-Foley is another guy that comes to mind that I think that they should call back up in the pen.
Yeah, I would consider starting to stretch out Sean Reed-Foley down in the minors to get him ready for a possible start.
And I think that's fair too.
Yeah, and I hear that Tom Zapuki in the minors.
Yeah, I always butcher his name. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, Zapuki has been coming off of, I think it was Tommy John surgery 2018, 2019, that he's been pitching very well in the minors, but his issue has been length. So I don't know. I would truly consider bringing Sean Reed-Foley back at some point. They also had Jared Eichhoff there, but they would have to make a 40-man roster move. So I don't know if we can afford to lose anybody right now on the 40-man roster.
Yeah, and I will say if there's one thing I'm concerned about with the Mets that will probably inevitably be making more moves. I feel pretty comfortable saying that they will, whether those are small or big, heading into the deadline over the next month or so. I'm not sure, but I can say that we're going to lose some guys that we enjoy on the team right now. There are some bench mob guys like the Billy McKinneys. How long of a future does he have with the Mets? As long as he continues this way, it's going to suck to see, like even Mason Williams, who's done really well in AAA. Like these guys don't have options. So when they're sent, they're probably going to get picked up. And that is, pardon my blunt words, that's a shitty situation about this all, is it doesn't just hurt the normal roster with all the injuries, it hurts everything in the minors. You're getting guys caught up from AA to AAA right now. And then the AAA, it's all a mess. Nothing is settled right now because of how many injuries the Mets have had. People need to realize that too, guys. This is not just hurting the immediate club. This is a trickle-down effect. This is dominoes going all the way down to AA. So that is the kind of unfortunate situation, more than anything else I would say about these endless injuries, if you will, that we've seen over the past month or so. But I think now, guys, is a perfect time. We're going to start taking some callers, guys. So we'll be taking 5 callers. So if you don't make the 5-caller cutoff, I apologize, guys. But we'll be getting a link now in the chat for everyone to chime in, share their thoughts. Again, all I ask, guys, one, please be respectful. Don't say anything that you wouldn't say to anyone else or anything like that without even knowing them. Be smart, guys, and just talk about the Mets. Please, if you have a comment, question for us, let us hear it. And when you put in your name, when I send the link and you guys click on it, please put your name of your actual YouTube handle so I know who it is. So that way I can recognize some of you guys too. So that's all I ask from you guys. Now we're going to get some live callers in here. So I'm excited to have you all in here again. And please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us get to 100 likes, and make sure to check out my good friend Anthony Rivera at the Subway to Shea podcast. Would really mean a lot, guys. He's doing great stuff there. And yeah, that's all I can really say, guys. So here, we're going to get the invite link in here now, and then we'll be good to go to bring in some callers. Oh, I forgot to put the link. There we go. Okay, so the link is in there now, guys. Again, we're taking 5 callers. And Anthony, any big plans for your podcast coming up? Tell us when are you kind of coming up with the next episode? Is it today? Is it sometime soon?
I was going to try to do it today. I don't know. I might wait until after the Padres series is over. It's so hard because I like to record on days that the team is off, but it's been 2 straight weeks of full games, and some of them are late. So I don't know. I'm gonna try to do one today. If not today, it's definitely going to be right after the Padres series is over.
Yeah, their West Coast trip is messing all of us up. Even me with content creation, it's like I'm stay up till 1 or so. I'm probably not going to go to bed until after that. Then I'm going to wake up late today, and then I don't know how much time. It's messing everything up. I agree with you, but we already have. I see a couple callers in here, and no one better than the man who sent the $100 donation. Absolute beauty, Steven. How are you today, buddy?
Yo, awesome, man. Awesome. Always glad to hear you in your stream. And thank you. Yeah, man, this is the new cap. I just got it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, when I saw that when they versus the Rays, I was like, I got to get this cap. And
That's
this
awesome,
is in
man.
honor of my dad, because he's an Army veteran from Vietnam. So
that's awesome.
I hold true to that. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the Mets, die hard since '86. And I'm not like these pessimistic my fans on the ledge or on somewhere. Like I just can't understand it. It boggles my mind how they think. But anyway, I'm just excited for the playoffs because I know they're gonna make the playoffs. And 3 to 5 years, like our owner said, 3 to 5 years, or it's a bust. That's the mindset I got. And Lindor is doing great, man. I'm just excited about him. That his psyche's, it was all about the mindset, man. And he's finally getting himself in the rhythm. You know what I'm saying? So these fans gotta lay off these boos because it's very disrespectful. You're not a baseball player, so you don't understand what it feels like to go up into that plate and facing 100 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour. These pitchers that have a great, they know how to pitch. So you know what I'm saying? You gotta lay off this guy. This guy has done nothing bad to you, said nothing bad to you. He said he's excited to be a Met. So you need to root for him just like we rooted for Mike Piazza. Like, come on, man. Lay off the dude.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I think it's going to be easier and easier to lay off of Lindor, if you will.
Oh, of course, when he starts playing better.
The only way for him to back it up is with his play, and he's doing that now.
Yeah, but he's been backing up since defensively, but his offense has been coming. It's been coming. But about the trade that you mentioned, I'm thinking about Chris Bryant, bro. I'm thinking about Chris Bryant or somebody in the outfield like Gallo.
Yeah,
one of those two. Gotta, and even an Escobar. I don't know about what you think about Escobar.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about Escobar in my my second trade video as well. He's definitely a more realistic pick out of those three.
I'd rather swing for the fences and go for Bryant or Chapman.
Yeah,
get one of those guys.
I mean, look, you and I are in the same exact boat. If I was able to, I would definitely be trying to make it happen as we speak. But with that being said, Steven, is there any kind of questions that you have for us before we let you go? Like, do you want us to basically answer what we would prefer and why?
What do you mean, like we prefer and why?
Like between those trade targets.
Oh yeah, just like Chris Bryant, Gallo, and either Escobar, or swing for the fences. Like Byron, what's his name? Buxton. I'm gonna say his last name. Buxton. I'm gonna say him. Swing for the fences to get that guy, but it's gonna take a whole big trade to do that.
Yeah,
As beside that, one more thing before I go. Yeah, I agree with you. We all do need to be respectful, but it's hard to be respectful when you have negativity, people who are not fans coming in here and trolling, and people that just even they say their opinions is all good, but you very disrespectful when other people say things. You know what I'm saying? That's why I defend myself and defend other people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I
Get your mind
agree.
Straight, man. I'm 35 years old, bro.
No, I agree with. Trust me, no one wants negativity in the streams or in the chat.
That's the way I
came
at that guy, because it's like you're disrespecting me and you're disrespecting all these Met fans that are diehard, and you're disrespecting Lindor. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I appreciate you backing everyone up. All I will say in the future though is if anyone's in a disagreement, all I ask is please refrain. Just
I know. My
them.
girlfriend was just telling me that.
Like, as long as they don't drag it on, just ignore them. They'll eventually be kicked if they're doing something that's not benefiting anyone.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
My girlfriend said the same thing. She said, "Stop feeding into their bull. That's what they want you to do."
Exactly.
So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but again, thank you so much for the donation,
welcome,
Steven.
man.
It means a lot, my friend. And we'll now talk about those trade targets, okay?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you, my man.
Anthony. Nice to meet you.
You too, brother.
Okay, guys, we have a couple other callers. I see Christopher, David, and Ryan. We'll get to those in just a quick second, but I want to ask you, Anthony, of those three players, let's shoot for the stars, shall we? When we're talking about bigger name trade targets. Out of the three, Byron Buxton, Chris Bryant, and Joey Gallo, which one is most appealing to you, maybe most feasible to you, and why?
For me, and this is going to cost the Mets, prospects or something big is going to cost the Mets with these three players. I can't, give away prospects or any big players for Chris Bryant, who's going to be a free agent next year. I can't do it. Buxton would be nice for the outfield, but then that means, what are you going to do with Dom Smith? What are you going to do with Brandon Nimmo? Because eventually, Nimmo's going to come back. Conforto's going to come back. So getting a Buxton, to me, tells me that there's a possibility that Conforto might not be returning if you're bringing in a Buxton. That's like a future replacement.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Gallo. And Chapman would be a beautiful target for third base. But then it's like, what are you going to do with JD Davis? There's a whole lot of pieces that got to move around. And
absolutely.
We are depth-wise in the minor leagues. We're not there yet for that big trade, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I think to basically expand, for me personally, I'm as big of a Byron Buxton fan as you'll ever meet. In the offseason, I did a video on why I truly believe the Mets should target him. The Mets actually tried to get him a couple years ago. Brody Van Wagenen made the call, but they cut off the call once the Twins asked for Noah Syndergaard in return. It's kind of interesting looking back now just on how their careers have developed since then, and maybe would it be more of a likely trade now than back at the time? Who knows? But yeah, they all come with a price. If you went for Buxton per se, yeah, you probably are not committing to Conforto long term, which is worrisome. I love Conforto. He's my favorite player, obviously. You would probably platoon him and Nimmo, however, in the outfield, and then Kevin Pillar would be more strictly of a late game replacement, or maybe for a series finale, with Dom out or something along those lines. You know what I mean? But Nimmo would probably be coming off the bench or they platoon. Nimmo and Buxton have both had their fair shares of injuries in their career, so maybe it would actually balance out if you could get them at the right price. You have two star-studded center fielders, one not so much defensively, but both really good hitters, really good eye at the plate, and Buxton is one of the best outfielders in all of baseball. And then Gallo is a little bit of a different story, big swing and miss guy. Can play anywhere, though. He can play as first base. He can play anywhere in the outfield. Basically, he's perfectly suited for a DH, but he does have a Gold Glove. But if you do commit to him, you're probably not committing to Conforto. And then guys like Bryant, I'm fine with giving up a top prospect for top 10, as long as you're re-signing him. That is my stance on the matter, for the most part. Other than that, I think you can maybe pull a Machado situation where you give up maybe you give up some talent, but like Machado did to the Dodgers, you're going all in on the season. If you fall short, you fall short, but you're doing that because you're making a deep run. I'm not against that either, as long as you don't lose too much of your future. And then Matt Chapman, he's been off to a really poor start this year at the plate at least, but he still has a stellar glove. He's had some errors this year too. I'm curious how well he's going to be bouncing back because he came off a hip surgery. So Chapman, as long as he's healthy and gets back in the groove, I'm all in favor of Chapman. He's one of the more underrated players in the league. He's so phenomenal defensively. So that would be my stances on all of them. But before we get on to our next caller, and Christopher, I just want to give a massive shout to another great member on the channel, and A. Lavelle. He donates all the time. He's the best. Thank you so much, my friend, for the $20 donation. Says, what's up, WardyNYM and crew team is playing hard. Bats are coming alive, and this team is getting healthy. Let's go, Mets. Absolutely, my man. Thank you so much for the donation. I always appreciate that wholeheartedly. It means a lot, my friend. So now let's bring in another caller, and Christopher. Chris, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hi, Chris. How are you today, buddy?
Hey, Chris.
I'm doing fine. Okay. So, the bats are going for the Mets. And, Lindor, I'm not going to lie, I'm not fully sold yet because last series when he was with the Diamondbacks, he did the exact same thing. This is the series he was getting hot. And then after that, he didn't, as you can see after that, he was batting 186. So, I don't think I'm fully sold. If he has a good Padres series, then I'll be sold that Lindor is going to get hotter and hotter as the year goes on. But so I'm not fully sold on Lindor yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I don't know what Anthony says, but I think Lindor, I'm not fully sold on him yet when it comes to staying hot like this for the majority of the season. I agree with you there. I think he took advantage of a poor Diamondbacks team, but I think this is going to help him get in a better rhythm overall, though. I don't think it was bad.
Okay, so I think we need to make a trade for Joey Gallo because as you can see, our outfielders keep getting injured, so I think we definitely need an outfielder, and I think Joey Gallo would be the best outfielder available, or that we can make a trade for.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, Anthony and I will definitely expand on that further, but is there any other comments you'd like to make before I get you out of here?
Yeah. About the NL East. I think from here we should run away with it. I think we should run away with the NL East. And thank God we are taking care or what's it called, or compromising on all the injuries going on in the NL East. But to be honest, I don't care about the injuries. I don't care about injuries because we're winning. I mean, I obviously care about the players and getting injured, but for us, I don't really care about the injuries because we're winning, and we're running away with it. So yeah, that's really it.
Okay. Awesome. I like that. Winning's a beautiful thing, Christopher, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, buddy. But yeah, so he's in favor of Joey Gallo. Interesting pick. Anthony, I'd suggest maybe in your free time, do a little bit of homework on Joey Gallo and then come back to me because I want to know your thoughts on the matter, even if it's off air. But yeah, no, interesting pick for Joey Gallo there. Is there anything you'd like to say on that before we get to our next caller?
Not about Joey Gallo, but in the outfield, I will say this. I am a little concerned about the health of Brandon Nimmo. The nerve issue is not something to mess around with. I know he's had a previous injury sort of similar to that, so it would be wise for that Mets to make a move for an outfielder because I don't see Nimmo coming back until maybe late August, early September.
Yeah, and it's the fact that Nimmo might be out this long is really uncomfortable for me. For a guy that was off to another scorching hot start this season, always on base. Like Brandon Nimmo is, in my mind, in a class of his own in a lot of ways, but when it comes to being a pesky on-base king, that is Brandon Nimmo. So to have him out really upsets me. It does, and knowing that this is like a nerve-ending issue, that he could be out that long, that sucks. There's no other way to put it. So that's why Jonathan VR has been such a revelation for this team, leading off and getting on base and actually stealing bags. That's awesome. And before we get to David, our next caller, I'm going to put the link back in the chat, guys. We're going to be taking 2 more callers, guys. So whoever becomes the next 2, you guys will be it. And then anything else after that, I apologize, guys. I'm going to have to cut you off just given time constraints. But I'm going to put the link back in the chat here, guys. And then I saw some people want to come in. So basically, whoever the first 2 are, and make sure you put your name as your actual YouTube name, and then you guys can share a comment or 2. Should you? If you want to, Paul, go ahead. There you go, guys. There's the link. But now let's get on to our next caller, and David, who's very frequent on the channel. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great, guys. Great stream as always. Enjoying the content.
Okay, what comments you got for me, David?
Yeah, I actually have 3 questions, and then I'll just ask these 3 questions, and I'll hang up and listen since time is of the essence.
No problem, David. I appreciate you waiting.
No problem. First question, the retractable roof. I fell in love with the retractable roof from Arizona. I mean, I think we need a roof, retractable roof in the future because, as you know, we've had too many rainouts, we've had too many issues, and I think it'll be something that maybe our owner would consider in the future to have. It will be a really good asset to have. I would like to know your thoughts on that. Number 2, the Mccann situation. I mean, the guy has been doing awesome. He's ever since that they've split time between him and Nimmo, and they put him in the 3rd slot. He has just been awesome. He's been great. So my thing is it because they're putting him in the third spot that he's doing better, or is it because now he's split in time with Nimmo that, you know, it's showing that he's more of a part-time catcher, that he'll produce more than compared to a full-time catcher that he was before when he was having the struggle? And third question, and I'll hang up, is Lugo. Do you see Lugo as a 8-9 inning pitcher, eight inning, ninth inning to close it, or do you believe that he's more of a seventh, eighth inning and then have Diaz close it out in the ninth? Thanks, guys, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, David. I appreciate awesome comments by David. I love when he comes in. He always sharing very informative stuff. So again, guys, our last two callers are going to be Zarice and Nicholas. So if you chime in after that, I apologize, guys, but you will not be able to call in today just because those are our final two callers. But let's start off with the retractable roof. You know, that I know that not everyone's in favor for it, but by God, I am. If you can actually play basically every game all year at home, you can avoid those last second rain delays that I've had to pay the $30 parking at Citi Field just to, you know, actually not have the gameplay like what happened earlier this year. Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I think it would be great for the team. I just think that security of knowing that you can play at home at any given day, like is what the Mets originally tried to do with Citi Field, but it fell short because the Wilpons didn't want to pay for it, what it seemed at least from the forefront. So, well, I want to know your thoughts on that, Anthony. And then regarding the second comment with Mccann, I think Mccann is absolutely thriving in a more split role with Nito, which is something he was most accustomed to during his time in Chicago. Mccann is not a guy you should be starting every single game. He's a guy that definitely have him say like 60-40 to Nito, 55-45. That is how they are both going to thrive, in my opinion. Both having them fresh, not too cold on the bench for too long, and not too hot actually out there behind the plate. So, and then for the third comment, and that was regarding Lugo. Lugo's interesting because Lugo, in my mind, is a setup guy. That's what I think of Lugo. But I do know that the Mets have been intending on stretching him out this year. So something tells me we're going to see Lugo in a lot of different situations, however they feel they need him, because they kind of have the setup spot down when you got the Trevor Mays, when Trevor Mays actually, you know, not being overworked, and the Miguel Castros and the Jurice Familias. You know, the Mets have a lot of setup guys basically outside before Diaz comes in the ninth. So Lugo, even with the injuries, I wouldn't be surprised if Lugo gets stretched out enough where we could see him as a spot starter this year, depending on how they're going to do the rotation and things like that. So what's your stances on those three questions before we get to our final two callers, Anthony?
So with the retractable roof, shouldn't every team have this now? Like, are we in a day and age where every team that asks for a new stadium, they should have a retractable roof? Like, we should not be having every sport plays under a roof. It's only baseball that is like behind the eight ball. And, obviously you can open it and they can play outside when it's nice out. But, these rainouts are, thankfully for the Mets, it hasn't been killing us this year. They have the pitching staff that can, go through this. But you don't want to be playing these type of games every day. Double headers all the time is the rainouts. And then, sometimes they're late on telling, like you mentioned your story of the rain delay. Like, you don't want to be stuck in that. That should mean we shouldn't have that anymore at all. I remember I think it was like 98, 99 when they proposed the original. It's Citi Field, looks just like Citi Field with the roof. So obviously, the Wilpons, but we won't get too far into them. Maybe somewhere down the line, if enough fans, ask for it and beg for a, retractable roof, maybe we'll get one of some sort. But I think every team should have that, definitely. When it comes to Mccann, yeah, him splitting time with Nito, I think this should be for every catcher in baseball too. You're on your knees all game, basically behind the plate, and then you're asked to stretch out and hit after that. It's not an easy 162 game. You'll get hit by pitches, you'll get hit by bats. It's a really tough position to play. And I think he split time with, was it Yasmani Grandal in Chicago? I think that he may have been splitting time with.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly who he's splitting time with.
So, yeah, he's never really been a starter. I think that because of how well he played, but then also played well in that shortened season, that only added to him getting such a big contract, especially him being one of only 2 catchers to be out on the market. So he played the market pretty well, if you think about it, because JT Realmuto was sitting there waiting. So he took advantage of, hey, I'm here. Not everyone's going to be able to get JT, but I'm here for the taking if you want it, and this is how much I want. So the Mets, they bought that and then they took it. And right now, he seems to be doing great on offense. But to me, his biggest asset has been handling this pitching staff. This has been one of the best pitching staffs all around. Not just starters, but the bullpen. All around great pitching staff because of what he and Nito has been able to do behind the plate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Those are all great points. And I just, agreed. People tend to forget that, Mccann and Nito, they really are coming into a duo. And yes, Mccann is on a serviceable contract. Don't get me wrong, but there's a reason why he is. And I think he's starting to show that more now. Mccann is the guy that you're looking, on paper at least, you've been looking for more offense out of than Nito. Nito has been a little bit more of a late bloomer. Again, Nito had a really strong start to the season last year, and then between COVID or injuries, whatever it was, it derailed him. But he was off to a good hitting start, and he's starting to show that more now heading into the season. And we have to remember, it's probably not going to be consistent with Nito, nor is it going to be terribly consistent with Mccann. So that's the beauty of having these guys, again, in a 60-40, 55-45 role, so you don't have to bank on one too long. Just give them a breath of fresh air. And both guys where they don't need to be on their knees every single game. That's huge too. They don't have a lot of work on their knees as it is, which is awesome to see, knowing that they have longevity with their careers with the Mets, assumably. But those are all great points. I agree with you, man. And now let's get on to another caller, that being Zarice. He's been in here a couple times. Speaking of catchers, that's his thing. How are you, buddy?
How are you, Wardy?
I'm good.
Anthony,
hey, what's going on, man?
Hope you two are having a wonderful day.
You too.
Yeah, I will say I didn't expect this value from Mccann offensively. I think now that we're seeing him kind of show up a bit, we can see what he's capable of. Obviously, I'm not a fan of him and never really been one. But I think that what I'm just happy to see is we're getting value out of him finally. I think what we should do, honestly, I think we should choose our catchers based off which guy's pitching. So
that's fair.
When Peterson's pitching, when Strowman is pitching, when Lucchesi is pitching, Nito has to start, in my opinion. He's the far superior framer. He has to start. However, with pitchers like Taiwan, Degrom, they don't really need. They kind of have pretty great control of the strike zone. So I think that's where Mccann should be getting most his starts. And we've been seeing him finally show up on offense. I don't think it's going to be this great, his offense, but if we can just get value, because we weren't getting any value before, I'm happy to see that. But I've been happy what I've seen this last week. I've been very harsh on him. And I want to see that huge contract have at least just help out. I want to see him help out the team, because you could see how frustrating it was. He was disappointing us from really all cylinders, and it's really nice to see him just perform well. He's stepping up. Same with Lindor. We paid him a lot more money. He is really stepping up recently. Again, it is against the Diamondbacks. This happened before, but you're seeing him get confident. You're seeing Mccann get more confident as well. I'm still on the Nito train, but I definitely think we can get value out of this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Zarice. And hopefully this continues for your sake, not being the biggest Mccann favor out there, if you will, knowing that maybe he can turn the tide here, be more consistent. Then we can actually all enjoy this kind of, 1-2 punch of Nito and Mccann. I think that's a recipe for success for this club. Anthony, do you have any more comments on the matter? And then Zarice, if you have any comments or questions before we let you go, let us hear it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this split right now is perfect. This is what happened last year. Luis Rojas saw Jimenez playing very well, and he started to get more playing time over Rosario. So we're getting that right now with the catching. You're going to have a split between the two. They're both playing well. Capitalize on it. It's helping the team win. Keep doing what's going to help this team win, and that is the recipe for success.
Yeah, I think I agree with you because Mccann was good, or he was being very productive in this same role with the White Sox, with Grandal. Obviously, Grandal's the superior catcher, but you were getting value out of him. And it's the same thing with Tomas Nido. Look, he's not if you put him in the everyday situation, he might not do as well. And I think we're going to see them both stand out at this point. But yeah, I've been really happy to see how this team has been. This team has been resilient, and I think that another huge aspect of this team is their chemistry. Like I know we've seen like some scuffles with Lindor and McNeil, but like to me, those kind of seem like in a way brotherly fights. You know what I mean? Like not fights in the way where they hate each other, but like you're always there. It's like a fight with your brother. Like you're with your siblings all the time. You get into fights, but you're there for each other, and you respect each other, and you have fun with each other. You just run into some troubles, and I think those are healthy to have for the team as well. So we can really help each other improve and feel comfortable communicating with someone that if you don't like what they're doing. And I think I really like what we're seeing, especially from my guy, Edwin Diaz. He has been my guy ever since he had a pretty good season last year, but I feel like this year, I mean, you're seeing like that 2019 Edwin Diaz. He's not there anymore, in my opinion. And the reason I don't think he's there anymore is because he's found break in his slider. You can rewatch the film. Like that slider would hang over for the hitters to just smack it out. And he was a one-pitch pitcher at that point. All he had was his fastball. And I truly think we have the Edwin Diaz that we traded for. Obviously, Kelenic is just really struggling right now, but I don't think we can say we won the trade. That won't matter. I mean, I think Edwin Diaz is among the top 3 best relievers in the game. I know that's very controversial considering
he's a top 5 closer in baseball.
I respect that.
Now in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, he is something else. And the thing is, what should make us most comfortable with him? The fact that he blew his first save the way he did the other night with his outfield effing him over, and he got out of the inning anyway. That happens. And when you consider, if you just analyze that outing, that wasn't I wouldn't call that an implosion at all. That was not an imploding. That was just relievers are going to give up runs. When you have a 1-run lead, you can't expect every single time the closer to be perfect. And I think it's a great thing to see him not implode and him come back the next day and lock down that save. What do you guys think of Edwin Diaz?
Yeah, we're gonna expand on that, but Zarice, we're gonna get you out of here, buddy. So again, I appreciate you chiming in, my man. Awesome thoughts as always. But yeah, I'll start with you, Anthony. What's your stance on Mr. Sugar Diaz? Cue the trumpets. He's been quite the story this season. And guys, we have one more caller after this, that being a Nicholas. So I see a couple other people waiting after. Please just leave the chat, guys. If your name is a Nicholas, then you're not going to be the last caller today. I apologize, just given time. But Anthony, what's your stance on the matter here? Because I think Edwin Diaz is back to his old self, and I think that him gaining 10 to 15 pounds in the offseason is really helping him do wonders with his command and just feeling better overall as a pitcher.
Yeah, Diaz has been great all season long. That blown save, I feel like, is an anomaly because obviously we had that big error in the outfield from Mckinney, and the guy was hustling the second, running the second. So there was nothing more that he could have done.
Was it Mckinney or I thought it was Drury in right field?
No, Drury came in towards the end of the game. That's where he got fumbled on the foul ball.
Yes.
There.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I don't really place too much of the blame on that blown save solely on Diaz, because I thought he was pitching pretty decently during that. And then what he's come in games where he's men on base, he's always struggled there. The extra innings, that's been a struggle for a couple of games for him there. As long as Rojas puts him in position to succeed, don't bring him in, when it's a tied game. Bring him in for the save when you need him. Don't bring him in when, people are on base. You got to know where to put him in and then work on him. Like, I think they got him a 5-out save one game. Work to that. Just don't bring him in. But his success, I think it goes back to what we were talking about with the catchers, having Mccann back there, having Nito back there. Wilson Ramos, probably my least favorite catcher of all time for the Mets. And they've had some interesting catchers, but I never liked him behind the plate. He was never a good framer.
Yep.
I feel like he was lazy behind the backstop, and it just, he could never tag people out at home. All was a mess when he was behind the plate. And to the point where Noah Syndergaard came out to argue him having to be his catcher. I mean, you can't have stuff like that. So I think Mccann and Nito have been helping him behind the plate there with framing his pitches, and he's been a success this season. I think it was just 2019 was a big change for him. He goes from the friendly confines of Seattle to a more ruckus New York crowd, and Lindor's feeling it right now. So, I mean, that's just how I feel like that took place for him. I feel like he's in a better spot. Him getting that trumpet music too has been pumping up the New York fan base. That only helps him.
Absolutely. I know everyone gets pumped up by that. And, like Diaz, where a lot of fans have been booing him in the past couple of years, that doesn't help your closer. Out of all players, the last guy it's going to help is your closer trying to get, like a 1-run save. That is the worst time to boo. So I'm happy to see he's actually getting credit he now rightfully deserves.
I'll say this. I won't tell anyone to boo or not to boo. That's totally their preference or what. But I personally don't boo my own team. I'm booing Chase Utley when he when he hurts like one of our players. I'm booing Real Muto and Harper and those guys, and Austin Riley when coming out of nowhere. Those are the guys I'm gonna boo. I don't personally boo the team. I know it's frustrating because he's making a lot of money. We're only 2 months into him being on the team. Look at Curtis Granderson. I think they showed a whole list of everyone who's had a rough start when they became Mets. Curtis Granderson was batting worse than what Lindor was, and now Curtis Granderson is a beloved Met.
Yeah. Again, time is the perfect remedy for all this. That's all we can say. It might be a rough time, but we just need time. I agree with you, man. So now we're going to get into our final caller. Let's see if we can get him in here now. Let's see here. Nicholas, do you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, Nicholas? How are you today?
Come on, Nicholas.
Good, you?
Good. What's up?
I think Luis Rojas should be considered for manager of the year because he's been excellent under all these injuries. Even though I don't like him, he's been doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, I think I love that you just said I don't like him, but he's been doing a hell of a job. I think that's the entire Mets fan base, a lot of the Mets fans right now, and how they feel about Luis Rojas.
In some games we lose because of the shift.
Yep.
You see, I mean, it happens. You got 30 defensive runs saved. You can't really complain.
I know. Yeah, it's remarkable knowing that the Mets are actually one of the best defensive teams in baseball right now. They're above average, second best shift in all baseball too. They're taking advantage of analytics and to their advantage with this stuff, which is definitely a pleasant surprise.
I think by the deadline we need to be aggressive and get a starting pitcher. We can't wait for Noah or Carlos to come back. You can't wait. And plus, when they come back, they might not even be good. You don't know.
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think that really coincides with a video I'll be doing soon. So, Nicholas, before I let you go, buddy, is there any actual comments or questions that you have for Anthony and I?
Let's see. What do you think? Do you think maybe we could try Pete at second, like for the hell of it, and maybe have Mccann play first?
Pete at second. Oh boy.
Probably not, but I'm just saying maybe in the lineup might help, but I probably won't do it. Just for fun.
I'm gonna have to respectfully decline on the notion.
I don't think it works either, but I mean, just to think of the bat, like just for the hell of it, just throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to really get that offense loaded, then hey, why the hell not, right? It's like,
yeah, but you can't trust defense all the time. You never know.
No, and yeah, maybe take defense away for a game, see what happens. I'm not completely against it. I just find that funny, the thought. So, Nicholas, I'm going to let you out here, buddy, but I hope you have a great weekend. I appreciate you chiming in, talking about our good old Mets.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. You too. Yeah, think about Pete Alonso in second. I know this man is basically a Gold Glove at first. If he isn't I mean, look, he's been better than expected at first. Could you just imagine Pete Alonso on second base, though?
Him lumbering around with his gigantic body going around second. No, I did see him. Didn't he take some grounders at third?
Yes.
Once, Davis went down. So that could be a possibility. But
it's funny how third base and first base coincide with each other. I see how, a lot of third basemen have played first. Like think of a guy like Vladdy Guerrero, for example, especially when he's been like more overweight. He's slimmed up this year, but like he's a guy, if he's like not, in my mind, he's bound to be a DH for the majority of his career, but he's a guy that plays third, plays first, a little bit of heavier set, lost some weight this past offseason. But just as an example, I find that it's just Pete Alonso at second base, man. Imagine his like 6'3", 6'4" frame diving down, making ththose picks just like he would. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, and there's one thing I could say, maybe Pete would be good for like the occasional Nito throw to second, because he has so much size and range. Maybe he can just cover second without even like intending on it and like avoid the runner from even tagging right away because he's just so big. Maybe put his left leg out without it being like a full interference and stopping in time. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but I think this was an awesome episode. And again, guys, if you're just chiming in or if you have chimed in, I really, really appreciate that, guys. Please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. If you enjoyed the stream, help us get to 100 likes as we're now reaching the close here. Make sure to help us get a 7K subs by June 7th. We're just a couple hundred away. So if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. It means a lot, guys, for great Mets content. I'll be streaming tonight around 9:45, 9:50 p.m. Eastern time for the Mets and Padres game, giving my own commentary and reaction. And make sure to check out Mr. Anthony Rivera at his Subway to Shea podcast. Links are in the description and below. So, Anthony, before I get you out of here, my friend, is there any final words that you'd like to give for the 120 or so Mets fans watching and for the people watching on playback?
I would like to see these games just go 9 innings, please. I don't want any not extra innings on the road trip to San Diego. I'd like to go to bed at a reasonable time for these West Coast games because this whole Arizona series was just way too long. Absolutely way too long. But hopefully they can win this series. Taking 2 out of 4 is a definite need for me, for sure. But dude, I really appreciate you having me come on. This was great, man. I enjoyed this a whole lot.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun. We'll definitely be having you back on soon, whether that's just for other Mets talk episodes or whether that's having you on for a post-game live streams that we do sometimes with a lot of good people in the Mets community. If you're interested in something like that, we'll definitely talk off stream. But again, thank you so much, guys. Please make sure to check out Anthony's podcast. So Anthony, I know you said this earlier, but for people just chiming in, when could we possibly expect a new podcast from you? If you had to say right now.
I'm going to try to do one today, but if it's not today, definitely at the end of this series. I like to do it beginning or end of series. We haven't had any days off, so it's been a struggle right now, but either tonight or maybe Sunday.
Smart man. All right, guys, thank you so much. Check us out on Twitter and check Anthony out his podcast on the link down below. Smash that like and subscribe on as always. Let's go Mets, baby. I'll talk to you guys later tonight.